Hey everybody, Jason Burmis here, and I'm over at the park. My niece is across the way, swinging on the swings, enjoying the gorgeous weather. Beautiful weather, a little hot, but not too over the top. And what I wanted to talk about today was censorship and the iron grip on thought. Now, when we talk about censorship, it's come in many forms in the human experience, right? We've seen book burning in the past. We've actually seen people burned at the stake for their beliefs in the past. And today, we see with censorship so many different things. Now, criminalizing speech against things like drone bombing populations for unjust wars of domination are beginning to become the norm. And what else is beginning to become the norm is the censorship of speech based in what type of things you can put in your body or why you may not want to put certain things in your body. So these things are extremely extreme. That's right, extremely extreme. When we talk about the broad scope of this subject matter. Now, often when we talk about free speech, many people feel like, well, if you're a private institution, then free speech doesn't matter because you can have your own terms and service of how people are allowed to think and speak. And that traditionally is not okay. Let me repeat that, is not okay. We've made it a point in our society that, for instance, when we go on a job interview, our personal life really isn't a part of that. Who we vote for, how we lean politically, what our family situation involves. That's not what we do. What do we usually do? We find out whether or not that person is qualified for the job, right? We do that. And outside of that, you can say or believe anything you want. Now, there's been such a shift in that, especially when we talk about social media and monetizing not only on social media, but monetizing influence, right? And that was really the first step outwardly in big tech censorship where people said, wait a minute, these people can be monetized and other people cannot. For instance, a lot of people have been saying to me, why is it channels like Mr. Reagan and others that cover a lot of the same things that you do, Jason, why are they still able to get super chats on YouTube? And I think the answer is very simple. They still lean into this very dreamlike idea, this fantasy idea that there is a true left and right that really do oppose each other, that conservatism or liberalism are nothing more or just that, right? They're not the tools of division that we see utilized by a very real predator class, okay? And I think that's why the majority of these people are allowed to stay there, because they stay in this very left-right paradigm where they tell you one side or the other is right. They play team baseball, and they still buy into this fantasy idea, right, that somehow Donald Trump and his vision of the Republican Party is going to save the country and save the world. That's Fantasyland, right? And I think that the next step for that group that still questions the narrative but leans into the left-right policy, you're already kind of seeing it, will be demonetization and quote-unquote deplatforming. We've already seen a lot of the deplatforming. But the next step in all of this is to criminalize speech and legitimize the criminalization of that speech by arresting people such as Alex Jones. And that was trending yesterday. I did a video on it amongst other things. But I'm also going to have Harrison Smith of the American Journal on my program tomorrow to kind of discuss how dangerous that is. And I was one of the first people to step up to the plate when people were saying, we need to kick Alex Jones off of Facebook. We need to kick Alex Jones off of Twitter. He's not allowed to speak on YouTube. I said, that's very dangerous. That is very, very dangerous, because what you'll ultimately see is a bunch of other people getting kicked off these platforms and the precedent being set via Alex Jones. And in a very short period of time, you saw a massive amount of people and their ideas, which at the time a lot of said were extreme ideas, or they were simply conspiracy theories about flat Earth, right? That was a big one that they wanted to put out there. What was the other big one? The QAnon thing. Gave an excuse not only to censor people, but then try to legitimize anybody who had questioned any narrative as some kind of a domestic terrorist. So in short order, a ton of people get deplatformed as that excuse, and then it rolls into the very president of the United States. Now, my entire lifetime, the media has done nothing but prop that position up and prop up the positions foisted upon us by that mouthpiece. Always, 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 no matter how crazy things were, giving some kind of a positive spin, even when there were no weapons of mass destruction, even when it was very obvious that George W. Bush wasn't really running much, and it was his administration behind the scenes. We've always propped that fantasy up. And then you get somebody like Barack Obama, who you get to prop up that thing even further, because all of the warlike policies, all of the domestic spying, all of the infrastructure that was enabled via the war on terror and the Bush administration, all of a sudden you had somebody that was articulate, and if you spoke out against that person, because say his name wasn't really Barack Obama, but it was Barry Soetoro, and that's what he'd gone by, his entire childhood into his adult life, right? You were a racist. You're just a racist for pointing out the guy had a different name. And then, they took and they put it on the end of everything. Oh, you're a 9/11 truth-er. You're a birth-er. You couldn't question the legitimacy of the birth certificate without, he was born in Kenya, or what do you believe here? Well, I just, I do Photoshop, and when, a PDF file has layers in it, I know what that means. Now, that doesn't mean I believe the guy was born in Kenya one way or another, but anyway you look at it, this guy was a manufactured persona, right? How much longer will I be able to question that? And so now it's gone from deplatforming, all the same policies moving forward, all of this agenda moving forward, to now let's criminalize speech, right? Let's criminalize speech. And then you've got your mouthpiece that was there for 8 years propagating this stuff, Barack Obama, right, as a centralized point to thrust zombie Joe Biden upon you. Remember, he was his vice president after all. Doesn't matter how corrupt that administration was, how much of a gangster he acted like. Doesn't matter that he was, on a panel at the CFR with guys like Richard Haas bragging about getting a prosecutor fired, saying he would withhold $8 billion in aid unless he fired a prosecutor going after his son, investigating his son in Burisma. On tape. And again, they use that Obama legacy to, legitimize their narrative, right? I want to know if we're going to arrest Alex Jones, okay, for these crimes that you say he's committed in an insurrection that didn't happen, right? For simply funding a free speech event to the tune of $500,000. That is nothing compared to the funding of the propaganda machine over at CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, CBS, and others that all told us about the WMDs, that all told us that Saddam might have a dirty bomb, that all tried to link Osama bin Laden to Saddam Hussein, that lied about 9/11 up and down, up and down, up and down, and continue to. When are they accountable? When do they go to prison? Could you tell me that? Could you tell me that? Because I do believe that the ones that are actually sponsored by our intelligence apparatuses, whether that's being funneled through some shell corporation or otherwise, should be held criminally accountable. And, you know, I put that challenge out there to any of the blue check marks that wanted to challenge me and tell me why Alex Jones needed to be arrested. I haven't seen any takers. There's like one try to be taker that's not a blue question mark that thinks Alex Jones should be arrested because he's COINTELPRO or some nonsense. That's not the argument we're making. And, you know, I've seen all that evidence and there's nothing even close to concrete to show any of that, you know, to show anything. But Alex Jones is somebody who at times gets things wrong and may at times be an opportunist and may at times push a narrative to me that is too based in left and right. But to you know, try to say that's what I was talking about and try to get a debate when, you know, you're not a blue check mark, you have just over 1,000 followers, and, you know, just kind of want to make your name for smearing Alex Jones. No, thank you. Again, if there was actual evidence that Alex Jones was some kind of a government agency, I'd be the first one talking about it. Haven't seen that evidence. So, guys, I think I'm going to wrap this one up. Thumbs it up, subscribe, and share. We got the YouTube channel back after some finagling yet again, but the battle continues. So make sure to make the free Rockfin account. I'd encourage you to go check out my interview with Robbie Martin, which we just did today, but all the other good stuff that you missed in the last several days, that's only available at the Rockfin. So make that free account. And if you do want to support me, the GoFundMe link is down below. And make that premium Rockfin account. Go check out the almost 3 hours we did over at the Conspiracy Social Club talking about 9/11. And between those two episodes, I mean, we talk about Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, the COG, the Israelis, the warnings, the war games, and so much more. Really can't miss podcasting with Sam Tripoli and Brian Callen. So, guys, I love you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all on the flip side.